You can see 22%, that's all they had. Manchester City, 6 shots on goal, 23 shots in total, but couldn't get past Henderson. And it is third time the charm then for Crystal Palace, who'd lost to Manchester United on their 2 previous finals, but not, though, to Manchester City, as they'll win this by 1-0. We've talked a lot about Crystal Palace, haven't we? Let's focus a little bit, shall we, Nedum, on Manchester City. I think those highlights showed it all. You have the ball, but you're doing nothing with it. Exactly what we've seen all season.
Yeah, slight over-exaggeration there, Dan. You could relax a little bit. I think you go back to that first half, and the penalty miss is a big moment in the game itself. I think it's very easy to forget that they had that opportunity. That is essentially the biggest chance of the game. And I think for the way that Palace played, once they had the lead, possession wasn't an issue anymore. And they knew with the hard runners that they had up front, they had Mateta sort of battling for flick-ons. They'd always have the chance to sort of go and running behind Munoz as well, who was fantastic. I think for City, I think the stats are they had 58 touches in the opposition's box, but what did they get from it? Why were they not shooting in key moments? When they had those opportunities, why weren't they clinical? Because I think the message in at half-time from City was to just figure out that quality in the final third, because they would have some opportunities. And as you saw from the highlights, there weren't a ton of great ones, but after Palace had scored, you basically saw them defending. They were throwing their bodies at everything, putting bodies in the right areas, being as good and as honest as you can expect from really good professionals. So from City, it's disappointing. Feels like that's basically been the season that they've had this year so far. But again, this is an FA Cup. There's no guarantee you're going to win it, and that's another loss for them. And yeah, they've got more to think about now with these next 2 games as well in the league.
Nedum, just tell me if I'm wrong. Jack Grealish and Matheus Nunes were on the bench, right? What's that tell you?
That's right.
The youngster comes on and misses the chance. Wembley Cup final, 100,000 or 90,000. You got Grealish on the bench. Go on.
Yeah. It's a strange one with Echeverria because he hasn't really been involved, like barely been in any squads this season. So when the sort of team came out and on the subs bench, you had Vitor Reyes, you had Kuzanov, and you had Echeverria. You're thinking, well, they've replaced Rico Lewis, who's just scored at Wembley in the semi-final. You know, there's James McAtee, who scored in the competition as well. And obviously, Kovacic had an issue. So for him to go and trust him in this moment, I think it's credit to the belief that the manager has in him. But, like, if I was Jack Grealish, I'd be thinking, well, why could I not be here for this big moment? He's played in bigger moments than, well, he's not played in bigger moments than this, but he's played in this equivalent moment before. He's played for England in knockouts. He's played for City in cup finals before. So for him to not be looked at in a key moment, I think as you walk away, you've got to be really disappointed. But again, there are so many players throughout this season who do have that sense of disappointment because they've either not had the opportunity or they've not taken it. And unfortunately for Jack, you could argue it kind of falls in between both of those.
He played in the Champions League final.
Yeah. That's the message, isn't it? That's your manager's
and people might be looking, going, Matheus Nunes, he's right back. I've been watching him playing right back. He's not a right back. He's an attacking midfielder. Right side. That's where they signed him from Wolves. And I get it, Jack Grealish hasn't. I get it, he's lost his form. For whatever reason. Partying, injuries, attitude, just lost his form. I don't know. But when you're bringing a youngster on, when you're desperate to salvage something from your season, and I know they've got a couple of games coming up, and you leave Matheus Nunes, who is an attacking midfielder, scored from quite a sum of money from Wolves, and Jack Grealish, who's an England international who's played in Champions League finals and signed him for almost 100 million or whatever the hell it was, and you're bringing a youngster on who, at a big moment, you need to have that composure, that experience. It's another strange Guardiola decision.
There's only one reason as a coach you do that, and it's the unknown. He's maybe sat there going, they'll bring Grealish on, they'll bring him on, they all know, everybody knows him. Why don't we just chuck the kid on? Nobody knows what's going on.
He'll give us something different.
Something different. That is the only reason. The only reason.
Kieran, if you're coming up against Manchester City as a defender, because you've seen them play this style of football so much, is it easier because you know what's going to happen?
I don't think it's easier, but I think that the 2 areas that City have lacked this year for me has been them in transition, but then also the speed of their play.
Yeah.
Stevie mentioned earlier about going backwards, sideways to the other side. And for me, there's no problem with that, but it's the speed at which they do it. And I think that it has become a little bit predictable. And we talk about De Bruyne, don't we, about how, you know, maybe he's lost that little bit of yard. And I think that may be the case for a few other players in the team as well, which even just that split second that you move the ball a little bit slower, if you do that from one side to the other, it adds up and it becomes a little bit easier for the defenders to shift and get in position. And you saw today, Crystal Palace, their positioning. I thought Eze and the other kid on the other side, their distances and their positioning was good, but I think City played into that. They allowed Crystal Palace to get into position too quickly, and I think that becomes a little bit easier made it a little bit easier for Crystal Palace.
The only way we saw a lot of Kevin De Bruyne today, some good stuff, that little pass at the end, a lot of poor stuff though. Mm-hmm. And the only reason I think we saw a lot of them was because it was easy to get on the ball. Mm. I think had they played a team that was sort of going at them, and you can go at City, I think the game would have passed him by. I think the only reason we did see him on it is because they had 80% possession or whatever it was. But I think anything that's not a team that's sitting in as deep as that, I think he's going to struggle.
When did we see anything through the middle of the park? We don't. The ball ends up in the wide areas all the time. We get that. But they can't change it because they can't go anybody through the middle of the park. There's nothing. Kevin De Bruyne, the one great ball he played in, he was away in the wide area. There's nothing. There's no like little interplay with the centre forward or even Marmouche in there. Somebody running through, playing little 1-2s. There's nothing coming through the middle of the park whatsoever. If they get nothing from the wide areas, they don't give you anything.
It's very difficult, by the way, when you've got 11 men camped behind the ball and you've got a back five and you've got 4 and then you've got Mateta. It is very difficult to break down. So I don't want to take anything away from...
It is, but you've got... So you know as City, you know exactly that's going to happen. And then when you see them sitting so deep, we were sitting watching it complaining that they were almost on the penalty spot half the time. You've got to have a strike at goal.
Yeah.
You've got to have a strike at goal. And it doesn't matter whether it's on target or not. After 2 or 3 strikes, they're going to have to step out. Somebody's going to have to step out. And when they step out, that's when I'm talking about getting some little bits of play, because if one steps, there's a little hole.
How many times when you watch City do you see them shooting from 20, 25 yards?
Never.